Hi, Marianne. Welcome. It's very nice to meet you, and thank you so much for joining me in my podcast. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joseph. I'm so excited to be here finally. We've had a rough time getting our schedules set, but I'm doing great. For those of you who don't know, I'm missing a leg, and I just got my new prosthetic last week, and it's finally gotten adjusted to the point where it feels great. So I'm kind of easing back into life and ready to jump back in with both feet.
That's awesome to hear, Marianne. And again, thank you for joining me. Marianne, before we dive in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you discovered carnivore? How did it all start for you?
Yeah, well, I've always been kind of very, let's just say very independent. And that can be a good or a bad thing, right? So I have a therapist who said, our weaknesses are just misuses or overuses of our strengths. And I think one of my strengths is my independence, but it can also get me into a little bit of trouble. But it allows me, I've always questioned authority, right? So, always been looking for a way to make myself more independent, more self-sufficient. And so it kind of started with, gardening, self-sufficiency, homesteading, and, you would call it prepper, right? The prepper community. And one thing, and my political beliefs. I questioned the two-party model that we have and things like that. And it led to hearing about the paleo diet on a podcast. Actually, it was a political podcast, but the gentleman being interviewed was Mark Sisson. And so he was talking about the paleo diet and kind of going back to our ancestral roots. And this would have been maybe about 2014 or so. And I thought, well, hey, that sounds right up my alley. And so I jumped into paleo, and then from there, I discovered keto. And after a while on keto, I found myself eating more and more meat and kind of forcing the vegetables down because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do, for to get all my vitamins and nutrients, right? Um, but then when I heard Dr. Ken Berry, again on another podcast that was not related to carnivore at all, it was a survival podcast. Um, when I heard Dr. Berry talk about his own experience with carnivore, I was like, well, you know, this is an MD, this is a doctor, and well, let's give it a shot. Let's give up these vegetables because I don't want to eat them anyway. And so then I jumped into carnivore, and that would have been about 2018. So been carnivore ever since in one iteration or another. But and this is something I would like to get into with you here in a minute, but I know you've got questions. But I do want to just say as an aside, like, I think it's really important that we talk about labels in the carnivore community and a lot of the dogmatic approaches that people tend to have, because I was very dogmatic and very rigid and very label driven when I first came to carnivore, just because of my personality type. I'm very type A. I want to do everything the best. I want to be the best carnivore ever, and check all the boxes and follow all the carnivore guidelines to the T and everything like that. But I think it's important that we focus on what each of us need as an individual, and what our individual goals are, and work from there, and stop kind of worrying about, are you carnivore level 1? Are you carnivore level 2? Are you, Lyme diet? That's great. I mean, if you want to label something, go ahead. But I think, again, like, we just need to all be focused on how can we live our happiest, most productive lives that God intended for us. So, but anyway, that's my aside.
I see. That's pretty cool. Wow. So you're familiar with paleo and keto, and you've actually done them. Just curious. So how long did you do the paleo for, and how long did you do the keto? I know you jumped into carnivore pretty much in 2018, right?
Yeah, I would say paleo. Paleo was like 26, I would say 2015, well, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, 2 or 3 years. It's hard for me to remember because I never said, well, I'm starting tomorrow. It was just kind of a gradual transition with paleo and then keto, probably another 2 to 3 years, I'll say. And when I first went keto, though, it was a lot of greens and a lot of lean meat, chicken breasts on salads and things like that. And I was hungry all the time. So I kind of thought I was doing something wrong. But then as I started eating those fattier cuts of meat, that's when it really clicked for me.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember doing paleo also, but not as long as you did it for, because I know you did it for many years, especially with the keto and paleo combined. I only did paleo for like a year, maybe a year, less than a half. So, to me, how
Now, what
you've done it, like, for
I'm
so
so,
long, is so much discipline. Yeah.
well, I don't know about that. So, because that's the thing with paleo is like it can be a very poor diet. Like the way I was doing it, it was like a lot of sweet potatoes and a lot of like honey and dark chocolate and dried fruit. Like dried fruit has so much sugar. So I was still a sugar addict on paleo. I'm not saying that paleo is bad or good. I think it's just how you use it. It's a tool like anything else. You can use it in a manner that is beneficial to you. But my paleo experience, I was still craving the sugar. So I was eating like I said, like I would mix together just like bowls of dried fruit and dark chocolate and just eat it. And I mean, it wasn't necessarily a healthy diet, right? It was just kind of like, oh, I feel better about myself because I'm not eating bread, right? But it was still, as we know, those sugars still break down the same way in the body.
Yeah, exactly. I think, yeah, I was also doing it for like a health reason, like on my end, because of the skin issues. But I lost a ton of weight. But the actual reason I did it for was like the skin. It didn't improve, but yeah, it was also for another health issue. Yeah. Um, so, Marianne, like, was there like any specific, maybe health issue, why you jumped into carnivore from keto to carnivore?
Well, I'll say that initially the only reason I was looking at was just for pure vanity, because I had just gotten married in 2016, and I was like, well, I don't want to be one of those women that lets themselves go, and I'm gonna I want to make sure that I stay looking good and everything. So it was total vanity at first, definitely. And as for transitioning from paleo to keto, keto to carnivore. I think a lot of it had to do with, again, like I was talking about, my perfectionism, my OCD, um, wanting to be the best, do the best, find the best diet, right? And then follow it, and so that I could feel like superior to other puny humans, very, very selfish in my motivations at first, definitely. As time went on, though, fortunately, and after I got saved, after I invited Jesus into my life in 2023, that really changed my perspective a lot. And like I was saying earlier, it became more about, well, how can I be my healthiest self so that I can then go and fulfill whatever God's purpose is for me on this earth? And I'm so grateful that God changed my mindset and got me out of that selfish sort of state. Because that was it was a kind of a prison of my own making. And it also tied in neatly with my eating disorder. Um, but I will say that the transition from keto to carnivore put the final nail in the coffin of my eating disorder and finally got rid of that food noise and just this anxiety around meal times and always wondering what to eat and when am I going to eat next and what can I reward myself with and do I deserve XYZ food and how much is it and let's record the calories. And I've been freed from that, and it just is the most, I never thought I would be. And it's just the most amazing blessing from God that I could have ever had. So that's my big reason now anyway for maintaining carnivore is by far and away, the biggest thing is maintaining my recovery from my eating disorder. I mean, there's also, been other benefits too, like getting rid of acne and mental clarity and just a steady mood and more energy and muscles and things like that. But for the mental health is really, really why I'm here.
That's really awesome to hear. I think what you just mentioned early on, how you invited God into your life. I feel like, it's something I also never really talked about. I think like after carnivore, like I feel like some of my activities alone, I feel like I pray more now, something I never done, or maybe I don't do usually. And, I would read some Bible verses. I think it's just something different. I don't know. Maybe I have more motivation in life now, but I feel like I just relate to when you said that. Marianne, so can you tell
Well, that's
me the
great to hear. I
difference?
think a lot of it is, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, no, go ahead. You go finish first. What is it?
No, I love hearing that you're reading more scripture and things like that. And I think for me, I know for me, like when I removed that idol of like, because I was worshiping instead of Christ or instead of God, I was worshiping, I guess, myself or my appearance or again, it was just all about me. And so I think when you knock that idol down and you finally surrender to God, then yeah, like you are more focused on spiritual things and you have more time for those spiritual things. So I love hearing that from you too. Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree with that, and I love hearing that. Marianne, so you talked about like your motivation in the beginning being like for vanity, for selfish reason, and then compare now like where you accept God in your life. Can you talk about the differences? Like, is it a night and day differences what you have in motivation now? Like maybe just deep dive a little bit, because me when I started carnivore, I was pretty depressed, right? But I wouldn't say like deeply depressed, but maybe just like a mild depression. Right? And then now, I found carnivore. I have so much motivation in life. I'm able to see, my future more. I can see maybe a little bit of limitless approach. But what about for you? How do you what is your motivation now?
Well, it definitely is night and day because before, and this is my formula, is Christ plus carnivore, right? Is my freedom and is my happiness. And before, engaging with those two things, I was depressed to the point of, I was thinking about ways to kill myself. And even, eating disorders are in a way like a slow suicide. There's certainly a cry for help in a lot of cases, but they end up in death, a lot of the time. And it's a, a way to hurt yourself because you hate yourself. Um, and now instead of hating myself in order to change my body, I love my body because I know that God made it. He knit me together in the womb, right? That's in scripture. I'm special. I'm unique. There's no one else like me in this world. And he put me here on purpose. And with that in mind, right, I want to build and nourish that temple with me. He's entrusted me with this body here on earth temporarily. And he's given me stuff to do. So I need to make sure that I'm able to do it. So I think before it was definitely, I wanted to change my body, but it was because I hated myself. And now it's, I love myself because I'm made in God's image.
That's really awesome. Marianne, I feel like, you mentioned about like eating disorder, like other health issues, dealing with, because I've heard you with the in the other podcast with Patrick Alexander. Um, was
Mhm.
there like how long did you do your research for before doing carnivore? Did it took you like a while to before jumping in?
What
It took
research?
me a while to wrap my head around it. It took me like 5 months. Research about carnivore.
No, I know. I'm making a joke. I never knew that there were books about carnivore. I never knew that there was an online carnivore community. Again, this was 2018, so it wasn't as big as it is now. But there were still resources out there. But I wasn't like looking things up on the internet to follow a plan or something. I just um, keto, I did get some books, I believe, and I was following those. But in terms of carnivore, like for example, I never heard of Sean Baker when I first went carnivore. And he's he's the Godfather, right? Crazy. It was Dr. Barry that kind of quote unquote, I always say, gave me permission to go carnivore. But it was kind of something that I fell into naturally because my keto journey started looking more and more carnivore. But I just thought, that's crazy. Nobody could just eat meat and survive. And so all of the research that I've done now on carnivore has come after I've been, you know, doing it for a while and learning about, the Inuit and their legacy of eating high fat and meat or, just learning about other people who have been doing this in the Western, culture for years and years, and Charlene Anderson and all these other folks. But I've really enjoyed deep diving into, I think Judy Cho's book was probably the biggest help to me in terms of fully understanding the metabolism and the functioning of how eating the rainbow of carnivore foods, so to speak, can really provide the best nutrition for your body without those, veggies and everything. And I learned about oxalates along the way. It wasn't, yeah, that's why I joke, like what research? It wasn't something that I planned out and researched. It was just kind of, oh, here we are. I mean, it's just because it feels
Yeah,
natural, And I think that's important for people to understand too. Like, you don't have to follow exactly what somebody else sets forth in their book. Like, and a lot of people are not going to eat the way I do. Like right now, I'm trying to gain weight, so I'm eating like 4,200 calories a day, and like a lot. I'm just piling it in, and high fat, and I'm loving it, right? But everybody's goals are different, and so everybody's carnivore journey is going to look different, and what they choose to put in their body is going to look different. But the goal should always be right, like providing ourselves with the most quality nutrition that we can. But yeah, it was just something that felt natural.
yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I like what you said there. Everyone's body is different, pretty much. How you're gonna respond. Maybe you have food sensitivities for maybe a specific meat that's not gonna work for you, or maybe you're gonna be
Mhm.
sensitive to eggs. I really like that. Um, Marianne, so what is the best thing about carnivore for you? Like one of the benefits. What is the main best one for you? With so many of them, like just came out of nowhere. If I had to pick one, I would pick like the best quality sleep I've ever had. Like every
Mhm.
night, I can sleep soundly, even though my health issue was the one I'm trying to address. I have eczema, psoriasis, and other health issues, but sleep quality has been the best thing out of carnivore for me. What about for you? What is the best thing about carnivore?
I'm so glad you're able to get deep sleep. It's so important. And but like I already said, the mental health benefits is that's why I'm here. Is eliminating the food noise. And it's I know a lot of people struggle with disordered eating, and please, anybody that does, feel free to reach out to me. I think my Instagram handle's down there, Peg Leg Carnivore. That's the best way to get me is message me on Instagram. But because I'm always happy to talk with anyone that's struggling with this, because you can be free from that. I never thought I would be. It's just so hard to explain to anyone that hasn't struggled with disordered eating thoughts. For the old heads, it's kind of like when so those TVs we used to have that were actual like boxes with knobs that you would cut on, right? And then you would have the fuzz on the screen. It's kind of like that in your brain all the time. There's just constant background noise about buzzing around in your head, like, and also coupled with the body dysmorphia. That's something I didn't mention too, is the body dysmorphia is a real struggle, and that actually continues to be a struggle for me, not as much praise God for that. But occasionally I have thoughts that pop up that are disordered, and I'm able to recognize them now, but they still try and like, hello, creep up on my shoulder. And so I just have to, knock them down. But definitely eliminating that food noise. So now I'm able to just eat when I'm hungry. I eat something that excites me and that's delicious. And, for years, especially us ladies, right? Okay, like we kind of had this culture in the 90s of like, you have to be stick thin, and if it tastes good, it's probably bad for you, and, low fat this and everything. I grew up in a very like low fat household. My parents are both doctors. My dad's a cardiologist, and he was big on the low fat thing. Actually, red meat wasn't allowed in my house growing up. So I didn't have a steak until I was like 20 something. Like I could drink before I had my first steak. Um, and boy, that was a revelation, let me tell you. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling, but definitely the mental health benefits, number one, of eliminating food noise. And then number two, I would just say probably the convenience and the ease of carnivore. And it's so simple. You don't have to do all this complicated meal planning and shop for 54 ingredients, and then half of them go bad in the fridge and you have to toss them out. And it's just so easy. Like, you want something to eat, cook some meat, put an egg on it, like salt it up, let's go. It's just like, it's so easy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, with the whole simplicity thing. I feel like it made such a difference, how you approach day to day, especially with like food preparation. I can just like put something in the cooker, even if it's frozen, and then that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marianne, so did you have any assumption what was the root cause of your health issues before even finding out about carnivore? With me, I know I look back at my own health issues. I have so many assumptions. I feel like stress was one of them, maybe a certain food that's like triggering, my skin flaring up, or, maybe it's a genetic, or maybe I'm just dirty. I need to go shower, or maybe I'm overdoing the shower. It's like endless, but they're all wrong,
Yeah.
after finding out carnivore for me. What about for you? Did you have many assumptions, or yeah?
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring that up, especially because my mom's she's double board certified in allergy and pulmonary. So she's an allergist. So I would hear, and for a while, she actually had her practice and I worked for her. So I know a little bit about how the, traditional medicine approach in the West treats things like psoriasis or, acne or skin conditions. It's medication, right? Let's just pop another pill in you and that'll do it. She, from what I gathered, um, there's not much other than obviously like food allergies and things like that. There's not much discussion of diet when it relates to skin conditions. And I think that's just stupid. I don't have another word for it. That is just dumb. Um, but anyway, all that to say, I'm glad that you found something that's at least helping, maybe not completely, but that's helping you. I think in my case, well, acne was always a concern, and that was something I had. I tried 4 or 5 different medications. Accutane, that is a very, very harsh chemical that I think a lot of your audience is probably familiar with. It's prescribed for severe acne, and um, I always find this fascinating that Accutane, when it's prescribed to women for acne conditions, you have to talk about contraception, like your sex life, like how are you, making sure that you're not going to get pregnant, because if you get pregnant, this medication can affect your unborn child. Well, if it can affect a baby in my stomach, what's it doing to me? Right? Like there's no discussion of that at all. It's just, it's again, stupid, stupid, stupid. Uh, but anyway, so I was on all kinds of prescription medications for acne. They even gave me Adderall to treat acne, like just random off the wall craziness. So I was on so many medications. But then for the mental health problems, there is a huge crisis with mental health and being addicted to SSRIs and all kinds of that. I actually did a recent podcast with Robert Sykes, the Savage Perspective podcast, and I go into in really, really full detail what it's like in eating disorder treatment facilities and the medications they prescribed me and all things like that. But I'm sorry, I am going to answer your question. My assumptions were that my body is broken and that something is wrong with me fundamentally in my brain, like my chemicals are off balance or something, or I'm broken and I'm messed up and I can't fix it and there's nothing I can do and I just need to trust these experts and they're going to fix me and they're going to put me on medication that's going to, rewire me or whatever. I just kind of grew up thinking that, I guess. Once I admitted to myself that I had an eating disorder, because for a while I just was in denial, total denial. But again, it's just the assumption that there's nothing that is in my control that I can do to fix. I don't know.
I see.
Okay.
So okay. I feel like it just something like clicked to me. Have you gone to Dave Mack's podcast, the Zero Carb Life, before?
No, no, I haven't done that one,
You
like
haven't?
myself. I'm familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, because I thought I heard your voice sounds familiar, and I feel like I've heard someone with a similar story about being in a facility. But yeah.
You might be thinking of
So
Valerie Ann Smith. She's got a really powerful story when it comes to eating disorders
well,
and everything too. But yeah, Valerie Ann she's really outspoken about this.
oh, okay. I'm gonna look her up. Because I think that's when I
Yeah.
started listening to pretty much all the stories about carnivore. I think that one pretty much left a very strong impression on me in the beginning. I think she mentioned she was seeing like demons, and she was in a very depressed state, and also like a yeah, in a facility also. I talked about it in my journey, like in the beginning. But yeah. Marianne, what was your favorite food like back then before, before the whole carnivore journey?
Before carnivore, oh, pizza, 100%.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Is it the cheese that you like with the pizza?
Oh man, it's just all of it. It's just like the crunch, the meat, the cheese, the sauce. And the beautiful thing about that is, of course, you can make a scrumptious carnivore pizza, and which I have done many times and enjoyed. So yeah, a lot of times people ask me like, well, don't you miss XYZ like pretzels and pizza and cakes and candies? And I'm like, I can make whatever I want and I can make it healthy and I can absolutely enjoy it. So I really don't feel like I'm missing out on anything at all. Even like, actually when my dad was down here to visit, the past couple of times, I made him like, spaghetti and meatballs, and he's not carnivore and he doesn't support carnivore. But he had no idea that the noodles were made out of egg and that, everything was totally carnivore and he loved it. And, it's like, see?
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. And he couldn't even tell that it was carnivore. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Marianne, looking back at the start of your carnivore journey, were there any mistakes how you approached the whole lifestyle? Maybe how did you learn from them?
Oh yeah, I made big, big mistakes. Because, well, here's the thing. So, I told you I didn't do like research before jumping in. The research all came after. So I started, as I was doing carnivore, I was like, well, are there more of these crazy people like Dr. Barry? And so I got on Instagram and I found the community and it was great. And I started researching at that point and jumping in and meeting people. And it was fantastic. However, the little spark of competition ignited into a giant big flame inside of me. And I wanted to outdo everybody, right? I wanted to be the best carnivore ever. And at that time, when I first was starting carnivore, OMAD, 1 meal a day, was like the big trend. That's what it seemed like everybody was doing. And so I jumped on that bandwagon, and that was not a good thing for me personally. Now, there's again a lot of people that can benefit from doing 1 meal a day, and there's a lot of people kicking ass right now who do that. And good for you, more power to you. If that's how you get to your goals, whatever your goals are, and that's how you feel your best, please do that. I'm just saying that for me, it was not the best thing because I was significantly under eating. And I actually fell back into anorexia on top of being carnivore because I was so, again, motivated by self. I had not yet committed to Christ. I was so motivated by self. I wanted to, make sure I stayed thin and, fit and everything like that. And I had that disordered view of my body, right? Like we were talking about. And so I made the giant mistake of comparing myself to other people and doing, just unfortunate damage to my body um, by significantly under eating. And you know, I'm a hard-headed, stubborn ass, and so it took a hospital journey and losing 2 fingers and a leg and you know 3 toes on my left foot, and it took losing a lot to gain the perspective that I have now. But I'm gonna tell you, Joseph, it's worth it. It was worth all the suffering that I went through to know Christ. 100% worth it.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you too. I feel like it's so worth it, like every single thing. Yeah. Marianne, so what does a typical day or week of eating look like for you now? Do you keep things pretty consistent or do you switch things up? Actually, I saw your Instagram and you post a lot of carnivore like meals, and I think I saw like carnivore cookie. Like maybe you can walk me through what you usually eat, what you make. Do you stick with food each day or different? Yeah.
I love my carnivore cookies. They're so good, y'all. Go on my blog, peglegcarnivore.com, and there's the recipe. They're so good. Okay, had to get that plug. Um, but yeah, so right now, like I was saying, my goal, because I was in the hospital in April and I'm returning to work here pretty soon, so that will probably change my eating patterns and habits and everything. But right now, I'm eating 2 to 3 meals a day and really pushing for a caloric surplus because I'm trying to regain weight and especially put muscle mass back on so that when I do go to work, because my job is very physically demanding, that I'll be ready and that I'll have enough fuel in the tank and that I'll, feel good. Um, but what it typically looks like right now, again, and it'll change as life changes, right? And that's okay. And that's something I had to, come to terms with. But right now, if so I say 2 to 3 meals because sometimes when I wake up, I'm famished. And sometimes when I wake up, I'm just like, I'm not hungry. So I listen to my body now. Again, something I never could do in my eating disorder. But if I'm hungry when I wake up, I'll cook up some eggs, maybe add a few. I get these delicious sugar-free pork sausages. I buy those at Seven Sons Farms, and they ship them to me. I think they're in Indiana or Illinois or something, but they have the best sugar-free sausage and summer sausage and beef sausage that I've ever had. So good. And then if I'm super, super hungry, I'll make like a roll out of I'd use protein powder, sour cream, and a couple of eggs, and I'll throw that on my little mini waffle maker and have like 2 of those with some butter if I'm like really, really hungry. And then I always go and work out. I try to work out in the morning. I feel like it's a great way to start the day and just kind of gets your blood pumping, gets you, makes you feel accomplished and say, like, hey, if I could get through that, then, I can get through anything that's going to come my way. And then as for my other 2 meals for the day, one of them usually is chicken wings. I love chicken wings. And once again, a shout out to Judy Cho in her book, Carnivore Cure. She has a lot of diagrams showing what nutrition is in which kind of food. And chicken wings are one of the only foods that actually have all of the like USDA required vitamins and minerals in them, which I didn't know, but I just knew my body wanted wings. Um, so one of those is usually chicken wings. I usually eat them with just like a dry rub from the air fryer, and it's probably, oh gosh, a pound and a half, I guess, of wings. So I cook them whole, so that's maybe like 7 or 8 whole wings, like the whole thing. Um, and sometimes I'll make like a homemade ranch sauce that's just like sour cream and some of my homemade mayo and then like some seasonings or something. But I don't always have the dip with it. And then one meal of the day, I always make sure that one of my meals is like fatty red meat. I make sure to get fatty red meat and eggs every single day. And so I've been really loving lamb chops lately. I kind of tend to get in these periods where I eat the same thing like all the time, every day. And then I just like suddenly get sick of it and my body wants something else. So I do that. Like for a while it was picanha like every day. And then it was lamb chops and it's still lamb chops like every night. It has been for a while. So I'll have like probably, let's see, again, like another pound and a half ish of the red meat, and then a couple of scrambled eggs with that as well in butter. I cook in either butter or tallow. And then, yeah, I've been supplementing with my carnivore cookies and with keto brick, just to make sure that I hit that caloric surplus goal. And I love the keto brick because it is so calorically and nutritionally dense. Like those are really great, and they have some fully carnivore options that are just delicious. And the primal fudge, it really does just like taste like fudge. You're like, this again, it's like that thing in the back of your brain, like this tastes too good to be true. Like it can't possibly actually have beef organs in it, but it does, you know. Um, but then my keto cookies, I love making those with, I use the Keto Chow protein powder, and actually Dr. Berry formulated they have like a vitamin blend that they use in their protein powder, and Dr. Berry helped them formulate that, which I thought was pretty cool, which is why I gave them a place. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question. If like today is going to be a 2 meal day. So earlier I had my chicken wings with a little bit of ranch, and later I've already got the lamb chops marinating in the fridge, and I'm gonna, my air fryer unfortunately broke, so I'm gonna pan fry them up, I think, and they'll be just as yummy. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like everything you mentioned. Yeah, I saw the pictures, even the chicken wings and the ranch, yeah, and the cookies especially. So I was gonna ask you about that later. So, um, Marianne, so is there anything hard about being carnivore for you, or maybe something difficult before? Like examples for me has been like the social gatherings with family and friends who are non-carnivore. The travel, having to scout the food, the location where I'm going, and the cravings. It took me like over a year to get it out of my system. And I think you mentioned your parents are not non-carnivore and they don't support it. Like maybe you face a lot of skepticism. Yeah. Is there anything hard about being carnivore for you?
That's a good question. I want to really give a solid answer. You know, in terms of being out in public or social gatherings or things like that, I think as an amputee, you just don't give a shit anymore about what other people think of you. And I'm sorry for cursing. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast, but um, I think that was difficult at first in terms of, telling people that and then getting those really weird judgmental, or just even if they're just curious and they don't understand, having that kind of awkward social interaction was at first difficult for me. After losing my leg and just kind of openly talking about everything and realizing, again, after committing my life to Christ and realizing my body's not my own, I was bought at a price, I'm here to do God's work. It's really not about me. This is just this like meat suit that I'm wearing, is just temporary. It's just a vessel to fill my soul while I'm on the earth. It's like, who cares what other people think about it? Because it's like, it's going to be the blink of an eye and we're going to be in heaven. And, it's just, I don't, so I personally, thank God, like I'm to the point where I just don't give two craps about what other people think about me in public. If I'm like, if I'm grabbing a ribeye by the bone or like at a restaurant or like, like I'm not afraid to assert also like at a restaurant, hey, I need you to make sure it's just the plate, the meat, the butter, the salt. Done. That's it. Like and that's something I would recommend to people is like, you can't be scared to advocate for yourself. You have got to get in there and make sure that they do what you want them to do. And like, don't be a Karen about it. Like, you don't have to be a Karen. but you do need to make sure that they understand what you want, because I would still go to these like fancy ass steakhouses, like with my ex-husband, and they would still give me like the garnish, or they'd give me, a side, because they were like, well, I don't want you to like, waste it. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, no, no. Look at me. Look at me. Meat only. That's it. So definitely that was difficult at first. It isn't anymore. But I do understand how it can be for other people. Um, I think the most difficult thing right now is my parents and dealing with my parents, because I know that they're motivated out of love. I know I'm blessed with two parents who love me, and that's a big blessing. Unfortunately, they can be overbearing in that love and very bossy. Gee, I wonder where I get it from, right? My assertiveness. Um, and it's very difficult to deal with that sometimes. You know, family gatherings are fine because I just make sure to bring a plate of something that I can eat, some barbecue or something, and so there's always going to be something there. Um, but I think it is just, there is a distance between me and my parents, and some mistrust and some healing that we still have to do. And um, that right now is the most difficult thing for me.
Wow. Yeah, I totally understand that part. Um, Marianne, so if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it and tell me why?
Oh, revolutionary. Um, because it uh, not only changes you physically, but emotionally, spiritually. You start asking questions about everything. Once you learn that you've been lied to about your diet, it's like, well, what else are these mother effers, telling me that's not true, right? And um, so that's the word I would use. Revolutionary in a good way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Marianne, knowing what you know now about the carnivore, the nutrition, the lifestyle, if you can give an advice to someone just starting, or maybe they have a chronic issue and they're comparing how much success you've had and they want to try to copy it for themselves, but they're skeptical at the same time because heart problems, heart issues, approach. What would you tell them now?
That's a hard one to answer because it's so individualized. And I guess that really is the answer, is that the solution is out there and it's possible to find. And carnivore doesn't magically fix problems, but you, as an individual, are capable of making changes that will significantly improve whatever it is that you're struggling with. And whether that's an eating pattern that looks like mine or like yours, or just one that you make up for yourself, that definitely will be a contributing factor um, to positive success. But the one thing I would say to everyone that I can say is a generalized statement. You cannot hate yourself into health. Okay, let me say that again. You cannot hate your way to health. You have to be motivated for the right reasons. You have to want to nourish your body and build yourself up. You can't look at yourself and say, oh, I'm so fat and wretched and horrible and I'm so out of shape and I hate myself. And no, 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 no. That's where the devil seizes on and he drags you down. And ask me how I know, okay? Get your mindset right first. Talk to God. Pray for just pray. If you're not a praying person, just try it. What's it going to hurt? Um, but pray to God and ask for wisdom and for the right attitude before you jump into anything, I think, would be what I would say. But um, yeah, you don't have to copy anyone else, but you do have to be in it for the right reasons.
That's beautiful. Marianne, my last question to you is your future outlook. How do you see carnivore in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe? Do you see it being in a good light, in a bad light? Bad light meaning we're going to see more censorship in the media, pushback from maybe big pharma or the media. Meat price is going to go high. The good light is meaning we're going to see more people talking about it. You're going to see more small podcasts like this um, talking about their experience and they want to learn more about the journeys. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up actually, because it's been something I've been thinking a lot about. And just what you said there is so true. There's a lot to be scared about. There's people that want us to eat bugs and not beef, but there's a lot to be excited about too, because like you're saying, people like you are doing awesome stuff. Like you are talking to so many people, getting this content, this message out there, and I'm just so grateful for you for doing that. And there's so many other people doing that as well. And I think it's sort of like how I feel about AI, to be honest. It's like it's here to stay, but how are you going to handle it? Like it's the same thing with carnivore. Like we're not going anywhere. Like it's here to stay, but are we going to get kind of like bought out by the media, or are we going to get kind of co-opted by higher powers that be, or are we going to make sure that we stay focused on the facts, the truth, individual people instead of, grifting and making money and all that kind of thing. So I think it's just, we got to remember carnivore, this lifestyle, it's just a tool, and however we choose to use it, it can be for good or for bad. But I think staying prepared, staying informed, and staying connected is really just the way to go.
Yeah, that's another awesome thing. Yeah, I feel like yeah, it's gonna be a mix of both, and some things I am afraid of, and some things I feel good about. Yeah. Marianne, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah, please, please, please reach out. Don't hesitate. It might take me a minute to get back to you, but I always try to answer everybody with a question because this stuff is just so important. But yes, at Pegleg Carnivore is my Instagram. Message me there. That's the best way. Also, peglegcarnivore@gmail.com is my email. And then peglegcarnivore.com is my blog. You can reach me there. So, but yeah. Um, I'm here, I'm an open book, and sometimes I actually overshare, so sorry about that in advance.
This is awesome, Marianne. I'm gonna make sure to post both of them in this description. I have both of those info, so for people to make sure to reach out to you. Marianne, thank you so much again for joining me. I really enjoyed hearing your story, learning about your carnivore journey. I appreciate you taking the time to share. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joseph.